Let's spend 10 minutes together to change your life.
Yeah. Do you mind just sharing with us like the benefits like on the cash returns when you put in zero money down versus like how that affects the profit margins, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. Well, it's supercharged. It supercharges your margins, right? If you're looking at cash on cash, and everybody has a different formula that they use to figure the rate of return on an investment, right? Everybody has these different formulas that they want to do, and so for some people it's cash on cash, some people it's an IRR. There's just so many different ways. I'm a pretty simple guy, so I like to keep things super simple. Um, if I can invest less on the front end and get more of the benefits on the back end, that's going to supercharge my gains, right? So like let's take the $4 million property. If I'm doing a 20% down, right? So that's $800,000 that I have to put down. That's my cash that I put in there, right? And then I lease the building, and um, that let's contrast that with, let's say I write a check for 200,000 option consideration. I'm getting the same cash flow, right? But I have 25% of my money, 20, you know, 75% less of my money invested in the deal. So what's that going to do to your rate of return? Well, it's going to quadruple it, right? Because you have 75% less invested. So it could be the same building, but we've structured the deal differently. We've not changed the numbers. The purchase price is the same and the lease rate is the same. Those are constant. We'll just assume they're constant, right? For this example. But if I can change the structure of the deal, I'll beat you every time. So, Adam, if you're putting down 800,000 and I'm putting down 200,000, and we're making the same NOI, then who's going to have the higher rate of return? Well, I will. But it's the same building, same numbers.
One more quick question about a lot of people get hung up on the price, right? They think they're overpaying for a property, but with this strategy, you got to
Hmm.
look more at the terms rather than the price, right? Can you explain that a little bit?
Correct. Yeah. So so here's what I'll tell you. Terms trump price every time. Every time. Um, as a matter of fact, most of the time I almost never negotiate on price. I negotiate on terms. Um, because if I can change, well, let's say a seller finance deal. Um, so if I go to a bank right now, I'm going to pay 8 to 9% for money. That's expensive. Um, if I can, we're going to take the $4 million commercial building again, since we're using that example. So I put 20% down, and then I go borrow money at 8%, right? Well, if that cap rate, if it's an 8 cap, I'm not making any money, right? I got to have a 10 or a 12 cap to make money. Um, so we're like, okay, we either need to negotiate on price, or we need to get money at a cheaper rate because money's expensive right now. So what if I go to that seller and I ask him to do a seller carryback? So it's an owner finance. He's going to finance the building to me, and he agrees to a 4% interest rate. Well, if it's an 8 cap and I'm borrowing at 8% money, I make no money. If it's an 8 cap and I'm borrowing money at 4%, well, that's a pretty good deal if I have a 4-point spread or a 400-point spread, I guess, depending on how you look at it. So we've not changed the price. We've not negotiated on price. We've given that owner the price that they want. We've just changed the interest rate on the loan. And oh, by the way, the added benefit is if he's owner financing it to me, I'm going to write the loan documents and I'm going to put soft terms in there, right? I'm going to get, um, I'm going to get a longer amortization. I'm going to get no prepayment penalties. I'm going to get no personal guarantees. Like I'm going to pack that thing full of all of the terms that I want. Whereas if I go to the bank and borrow at a higher rate, I'm subject to their terms and covenants, right? So the to me the real magic is I get to actually write the docs, and that's beneficial for me.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, this guy must have a law degree. He must be a banker. He must be a hedge fund manager to know how to do all of this, know how to create the docs, know how to structure the deals. You're not. So why don't you just tell us a little bit of, how you got to this point, how you've actually figured out these systems, how you educated yourself, how
So
can people do this at home?
yeah, well, so first of all, I have no degrees. None whatsoever. I grew up in the backwoods of Arkansas on a 120-acre farm, literally 4 miles down a dirt road. We, growing up, we had, we were still on a party line on our telephone. There were four houses shared the same telephone line. We had no internet growing up. Um, I'm literally, I did not graduate high school. I have a GED, and I did not go on to college, or I just left high school and started a construction company. So when I tell you I'm a dumb hillbilly, I'm a dumb hillbilly. And I just got interested in real estate.
Smartest, dumbest, the smartest, richest, dumbest hillbilly.
Well, I don't know about that. Depends on what scale we're using to measure that. I've been super blessed in my life to meet some really smart people, and I guess I was dumb enough to listen to them and just try what they told me. And so really, all of this, what I've learned is just years of digging into what real estate is, and I was blessed to find a mentor early on, um, and I think mentors are huge. And I'm not talking about TikTok gurus. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy that actually gets things done every day. It's the guy that you see in Walmart, and he's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Um, my mentor, actually, I saw my mentor this morning. We've been friends for years now. We went and looked at a property this morning together, and I met him 15 years ago, and he was in his typical uniform. He drives a Ford F-150. He wears gym shorts and an irreverent T-shirt every day. That's what that's who he is. Like, you would never know that he has money, right? Um, and so mentors are huge. Find someone that knows what they're doing and just ask lots of questions. And after you ask those questions, take action. Because most everybody was like, well, I need a mentor. Well, a mentor is not your silver bullet, because most people will ask a mentor questions and take up their time, but then they will never take action on what they said. And so you need to learn to be mentorable. That's hugely important. Um, I asked my mentor a couple years ago, I said, why did you continue to invest in me? And he said, because we met and we talked for 30 minutes, and the next week you called me with a deal where you were trying the strategy that I told you. He said, I talked to 300 people before you and nobody did anything. He said, you actually tried it. And so, maybe that's part of my background. I was just dumb enough to try it and see if it stuck. I didn't know what I was talking about. I had
If you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned for part 3, coming out in a few days.